Good evening and welcome to SVGTV's news for Monday, May the 11th, 2020. I am Bhavanath there with the details. The reopening of schools in SVG is expected to be done in phases with a proposed date of next Monday, May the 18th, 2020 to commence phase 1 of the process. This was announced on a radio program on Sunday by Minister of Education Sinclair Jimmy Prince. Minister Prince said the proposed date is not yet finalized as they are in consultation with the SVG Teachers Union and principals.
The Ministry of Education, along with the experts of the Ministry of Health, set up a kind of tentative preliminary timeline. We were thinking maybe if we open school maybe the 18th of this month or the 25th or thereabout, particularly preferably the 18th. We may be ready. We may be ready to open school at that time. We were thinking about that. We put that timeline down. We made that proposal. But of course, this is not cast in stone because we have to have these things in place to ensure the safest environment for both teachers and students. Because
Minister Prince said students who are expected to return to the classroom first in phase 1 will be those who are preparing to write external exams, which will include Form 5, Grade 6 and TVET students.
Phase opening we propose would include only the students who are doing examinations at this point. That's Form 5 in the secondary schools and grade 6 in the primary schools, along with the TVET people, those who are attending the technical institutes in Kingstown and Barrowley and Aberdeen Park and Georgetown, those 4 technical institutes with the TVET programs, looking for the civic news, etc. But these examination people, we want them to go in first. These students will need engagement, maybe revision, etc. before attempting their exams. And I think that is quite obvious.
As regards to transportation for students, Minister Prince said they are making arrangements with the Ministry of Transport.
Looking at transportation because, you know, we wouldn't want to have children jamming up, as they say, in buses, coming to school on those mornings. That would be unsafe. So we're looking at specialized transportation. Of course, we have not concretized that yet. This is strongly in our minds, and we'll be speaking with the Ministry of Transport in that regard on Monday. There's some preliminary discussions started before that, but we'll continue to talk to them about how we get students to school safely without having to be exposed in the public transportation that we have.
The Education Minister gave the assurance that schools will only open once all the health requirements are met, noting that inspections commenced last week and data is still being analyzed. SVG on Saturday, May the 9th, welcomed home 92 Vincentian sailors. The majority of sailors, 91 to be exact, worked on various Carnival cruise line vessels and were transferred to the Carnival Glory on May the 2nd, 2020 in the Bahamas. The other returning sailors were transferred from the Caribbean Princess to the Carnival Glory in local waters on Saturday. A news release from the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, said all of the sailors disembarked after initially being screened for SARS-CoV-2 virus, the virus which causes COVID-19 exposure. The screening was conducted by the medical team on board the Carnival Glory using COVID-19 rapid tests. 2 crew members, who both came from the same ship, were found on rapid testing to have been exposed to COVID-19. The Health Services Subcommittee commenced further testing on those 2 crew members and their 4 counterparts to determine whether or not they have active COVID-19 infections. All 6 were placed in quarantine in a government-approved facility until definitive PCR COVID-19 testing can be completed. The other 86 crew members commenced their 14 days of mandatory quarantine on Saturday in their private homes, apartments and guest homes. SVG had 17 PCR-confirmed cases of COVID-19. 9 persons have fully recovered so far. The Health Services Subcommittee is reminding Vincentians of the importance of strict compliance with quarantine and isolation instructions to ensure the country maintains containment of COVID-19. The public is asked to maintain the effective public health measures currently in place, which their Health Services Subcommittee says have served to slow the spread of COVID-19 in the country. The safe use of face coverings, including homemade masks, along with hand hygiene, cough etiquette, and physical distancing, should be strictly adhered to. And the Minister of Health, Luke Brown, who was on hand to meet the sailors, said he was pleased with the way health protocols were carried out, noting that the sailors were happy to return home.
I was on hand to welcome them home, and I think that they're quite relieved that they're finally home. It was a difficult journey for them. I'd just like to maintain that the government has been very active and proactive, I should say, with had been very proactive with negotiations that ultimately led to the return of these Vincentian nationals. And the government was also at the forefront of preparing protocols to guide their return and even fashioning a regional approach to the subject. And you would recognize and remember that we also were very strong that there should be no absolute closure of our borders. So we left it open to, Vincentians being able to come back home.
Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves was also in full praise for the health workers, Customs and Port Authority staff, whom he said ensured all protocols were followed. The Prime Minister said he now hopes that these sailors do not breach their time in quarantine, as has been done with one of the persons who recently returned home from the BVI.
And I just want to use this opportunity to advise all of those who are quarantined at their homes. If they do not stay in the quarantine, the police will come and pick them up and will take the action in accordance with the order. As what happened on Friday night, when the BVI person of the 22 BVI persons who had come in, and one of them was under quarantine Friday night, he decided to leave his home. And we have a network where persons are being checked. And the police went for him and put him inside of a state facility for the 14 days. So we are urging everybody, just obey the quarantine.
And the coronavirus has brought with it economic hardships, and the state has launched the Love Box initiative to create a safety net for the most vulnerable. Speaking on radio yesterday, Minister of Agriculture Subota Caesar said the global pandemic has affected many persons' ability to access and afford food, and the Love Box program designed to assist those in need.
Available. It's the next thing for it to be affordable and accessible. Three very important is the food could be available, but it's not accessible and it's not affordable. So what the government came up with is a very unique idea to have a Love Box program for persons who are vulnerable during this period. Persons may be vulnerable for 2 months and then they get a job, or we see a restart of the tourism sector in such a way where they're no longer food vulnerable. So it is going to be, all that the Ministry of Agriculture will be doing is to purchase commodities from the farmers, package the commodities, assist in the distribution, but the beneficiaries will be identified not by the Ministry of Agriculture, because that is not in our purview. It will be identified by the Ministries of Ecclesiastic Affairs, working in conjunction with the churches and civil society, and with the Ministry of Social Development, to ensure that the goods are taken to persons who are really in need.
Minister Caesar said the initiative will create additional opportunities for farmers.
98% of it
will
be bought from farmers. Yes, farmers. Now, so that will be generating significant income. So you have, one will be in Lanley Park, one will be in Lauders, one will be in Lacqua, and one will be in Belmont, as advised on the leeward side, either Belmont or Rosebank. Now, farmers are going to come, bring the produce, and of course, we are working with the extension services to speak to the farmers who will bring the produce, because it's not every product that is grown in St. Vincent and the Grenadines will be in the Love Box. And it has to be of a certain quality, it has to be of a certain maturity,
because persons, you don't want when the commodity gets to the person, because the maturity of the fruit or the produce was at a certain level when you got it, that it is damaged and so forth. So you're going to have, for example, in Lanley Park, farmers bring in to sell to the state. The state will purchase to make the love boxes. You're going to have also farmers coming to sell to persons who want produce to buy.
The Agriculture Minister said while the ministry will not determine the beneficiaries of the Love Box initiative, it will do its part to ensure its success.
Agriculture in terms of, because we have a lot of vehicles available and at our disposal, we will be assisting with getting it to the churches and to the different sporting organizations that will be actually distributed. And I really want persons to be very honest and very prompt in the distribution, because there are persons who have become vulnerable because of the shock that COVID-19 has placed on the economy, not only of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but of the entire world. So there will be that grandmother in a particular community or town who would have 3 children overseas, 2 in Brooklyn and 1 in Tortola. And the one in Brooklyn, business they may be laid off. The other one may be working but can't go to work or can't go to Western Union because they are locked inside. And you know what is happening in the BVI. That person now, even though they had support systems in place, there's a need for social safety net from the state to assist that person.
A number of vendors in Capital Kingston who are registered with the town board turned up today to sign up for the income support under the government's COVID-19 stimulus package. Once eligible, they are to receive $200 for the next 3 months in the first instance. There are reportedly between 600 to 800 persons registered with the town board, and today, staff was seen matching names with persons who showed up to register for the income support. SVGTV News spoke with some vendors who said they are badly affected and are happy to cash in on the $200, while another was disappointed she did not qualify.
I'm a vendor for over 30 years. Well, we registered our name here to get a little refund from the government. You know, to help out the situation, to help out to pay the table bill and what's not. It's a good thing helping out the situation. It's small, but it's a good thing. It will be good, but now you know how the virus is. It slow down, so that's why they're trying to help you out with a little refund.
I think they're trying to help to cushion, you know, the vendors, whatever. If I tell you more, you might not want to believe me, but very difficult right now. Well, I would say it affected me a lot because I was just able to scrape through, so to speak, you know, to help myself on a daily basis. They said give vendors $200 per month for 3 months. So that's why we are here.
Well, as a vendor on the street, so I just come and see me going on. I did here, so the time I may register my tongue board, so I have to wait and see me going on.
How long you been a vendor?
I've been doing for like 15 years old. I'm 48 years old now. No, I have a Charlie just going around. I used to sell by the hospital for many, many years. So nobody never come and say, well, take a $5 or so. I don't mind paying it. They buy a school now, so I still harass too. Because still have to pay when Carnival come along, I have to pay for the 10 days. I have to pay $20 a night for the 10 days, so Carnival too. So that is it. I pay tongue board for the 10 days for the Carnival.
Registration closes tomorrow with the hope of commencing the payments on Wednesday. During today's registration at the town board, an unemployed person showed up seeking answers as to how he can also benefit from the government's COVID-19 stimulus package.
People will work hard, you have to put you sent by NIS to get money to help you out. You now work and you pay NIS fee and it's problems. The premise of the radio talk one thing and a two different thing. when you come to here to fight up, look at the farm here for yourself. You can see up and down with the farm. Have to go there, go do this. Wow. I better go back somebody for $100 and help yourself more than go fight up with government with that thing. I had to waste time.
So where are you working?
I've been jail for 10 years. I out of jail. I unemployed. I do little thing with myself to help. They say by paying my hands covered. I work 12 years sanitation, 4 years public works, and I work with Noel Jackson before. Now I unemployed. They send you to college this to help you out because the thing is a make a waste of time. Since morning, it's up and down from one place to the next. Say about January. I do something in January, about 3 months, pay the NIS for that, and from that I'm home up to now. So they say come and access for help. I went and do this, I got a farm, but the amount of problem you have to go through to get in it. What I'm saying to say, you don't treat poor people like that.
Over at the Welfare Department, there was also a large crowd with persons seeking to get registered for the interim assistance, which was also a part of the government's COVID-19 stimulus package. The Ministry of National Mobilization anticipates that 500 persons who are not on public assistance will benefit from the financial help of $200 until the end of the year. Meanwhile, minibus owners registered under the stimulus package as of April 30th, 2020 will receive their transportation subsidy payment for the month of April tomorrow, Tuesday, May the 12th, from 9 a.m. at the Geese Shed. These persons are asked to bring along their ID card or driver's license, and note that no parking will be allowed in the compound. Physical or social distancing will be in effect, as well as security. At today's registration exercise for the government's relief measure, there were long lines and large crowds at various departments. What was evident, there was no physical distancing and just a few persons were seen with face masks, which is recommended when physical distancing cannot be practiced. In a telephone interview with SVGTV News, Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment Luke Brown appealed to persons to adhere to public health protocols and guidelines.
It's standard advice in relation to public health and social measures which would help us to minimize the risk associated with COVID-19. And that does in fact include practicing physical distancing and basically seeing if you could maintain that 3 to 6 feet between other persons. And where that is not possible, for one reason or another, to practice the use of masks. This is standing advice, and we hope that the public could continue to be responsible in adhering to this advice.
A 2-bedroom house in Clare Valley rented by an elderly couple was completely destroyed in an early morning fire today. A neighbor, Michael Kennedy, said the couple were not able to save anything from the house, which went up in flames after an explosion was heard in the kitchen area.
For them, he said he's afraid to cause the fire, but there was fire. My name is Michael Kennedy.
Okay, but what time? Around what time is that?
After 4. Look, after 4. After 4. Well, when I wake up in the morning, right, I hear something in pow. When I wake up, I see the guys around the house, so I jump out my bed and help him out in fire. And the fire was so heavy, we couldn't manage it.
Kennedy said the fire had spread to the yard, which destroyed the couple's garden. He said that the fire service was called almost immediately. However, it arrived an hour later after the house was already destroyed.
And then we call the fire brigade. Yeah, and then they come a little bit too late because it was well finished burn when they come. No, not a thing. Not a thing. They just close. The lady just come out, and then she was talking to us, she was from the fire. They explode, boom, 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 like a gunshot.
In Upper Lowmans on the windward side of the island, another house was destroyed by fire today. A 3-bedroom dwelling house, leaving 11 occupants, including 4 adults and 7 children, homeless. Head of the household, Delcia Barnwell, told our news team that she was outside when one of her sisters noticed smoke coming from inside of the house. She said they tried to get in, but it was too late.
I was outside in the yard with my sisters. We were in the yard, and then I heard my sister say, "What look orange?" So she turned like and said, "What look orange?" And when we turned, we saw the fire in that side of the house. And we started to run and scramble stuff to throw the water, but the fire went down, started to spread. We couldn't help. We couldn't save the house. I tried to go inside. I went inside, opened the door, but the smoke was too thick. I had to grab my nephew because he had run in.
Barnwell said their neighbors, other relatives and the fire service tried their best to help control the fire, but to no avail as the house was burnt to the ground.
We had 3 bedrooms, a living room with the kitchen just like an island to part it off, and the bathroom.
How do you feel right now?
Can't even explain.
People were living here with you?
My 3 sisters and along with 4 of my kids, 2 of my sister's kids and another.
And the police are investigating an accident in Baibu this afternoon which claimed the life of a motorcyclist. According to the information received, the motorcyclist, said to be in his 20s, died on the spot after his motorcycle veered off the Baibu public road. We will bring you more on this incident in our newscast tomorrow.